What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Woodward Sports Network and the Woodward Bets Show. I'm Scott G. Risen, G underscore Risen on the socials, and I'm back again today with Detroit Beastie, Chris Robin. How's it going, Chris?
Great, that's me. I'm so happy to be here yet again. This is turning out fantastic, and what more do we have that's going on in our life that isn't as important as broadcasting and reaching folks every day to talk about football? That's a dream. It's what people dream of.
Oh, I hear you talking about the dream. Everybody, a couple people have already asked me, how in the hell did you get yourself into that, what you're doing there with Woodward Sports? And I said, obviously I'm not a broadcaster. This is like the first few times I've ever really hosted a show, but you know what, we're getting through it. But, I tell everybody, listen, I've been focusing on fantasy sports betting, my whole life, the last like 10 years. I mean, I've been around quite a bit in the industry. I started a long time ago, and DFS been really good to me. I've won close up to almost $2 million in career winnings since like 2010 or so. Been to many live finals across the country. Including the Playboy Mansion twice, which usually springs up everybody's ears when you talk about that. But, been in the high stakes DFS for quite some time, had a lot of fun with it. Baseball and football are my thing. Season long, did kind of take a back seat to my DFS play. But, when you're winning money, I've won quite a bit of money, been getting them 1099s in the mail from DraftKings and FanDuel for quite some time. So that's usually a lot of fun, which is the true gauge on how you're really doing. But Chris, I found you out in the landscape of everything. You're out there and you're promoting yourself, putting out videos and content. And I kept thinking, damn, this guy just keeps getting this stuff right. He's from Detroit. Man, he's got to be on the Woodward Bets team. So, worked out perfect. I'm glad we have you. And, why don't you tell a little bit about, how you kind of got involved in what we're doing?
Yeah, my name's Chris, a.k.a. at Detroit Beastie, born and raised on the east side of Detroit, literally, not fooling around here on 8 Mile and Gratiot, on the north side of 8 Mile. Eminem always talks about the south side, but born and that's basically the east side of Detroit, State Fair, 7 Mile. So I've been around the Detroit sports scene in terms of being a fan since I was a baby. I was born, in St. John's on Maross. My dad put a Lions bib on me like moments after I was born. So I was just, destined to be a Detroit Lions fan. And here we are. You fast forward to right now, 2021, my fandom is still going strong. And to be fair, you look around at the country, you watch other broadcasts or other content, and it's like we have it made here in Detroit with the sports, the history, and the teams. And right now, let's be honest, not too much good going on in terms of winning. But I'm telling you, in all the four major sports over the years, in the history of sports, there's ebbs and flows. You got to ride the waves. And the Detroit sports scene was very good and high end for a while when the Wings were winning cups, the Pistons were in the finals, and even the Tigers were winning pennants and playing in the World Series. So sports in Detroit is at a downtime right now in terms of winning. But I don't know about you, Scott. I'm happy to carry the Detroit sports flag through all of it, 24/7, 365, through the good and through the bad.
Yeah, I hear you. I obviously playing DFS and betting a lot of times, obviously my emotions are on whoever what my money is on. But, being a Detroit sports fan has been tough. But, I really believe we're one of the best sports towns. I'm almost 50 years old. So, I was around when the Tigers won in '84. I was a young kid. So, that was my first experience. And then, obviously the Red Wings success they had, and the Pistons and the Tigers, which I still think, I don't know how in the hell they didn't win in 2006. I'm still
shocking.
That.
That pitching staff was absolutely insane. If you look at that, those guys all spread their wings elsewhere, and they're still doing it. It was insane how they didn't win, but oh well.
Yeah, I agree. I'm kind of a Dodger fan this year just because I really like Max. I want to see him get another ring. But I sit here and think about all the Detroit sports teams you were just talking about. The four teams. I am excited about our four teams. The Lions, I'm going to put there at the bottom. I'm not really sure yet they're on the right track, but we got the Red Wings. We'll start with the Red Wings. Obviously, we got Stevie Y coming back. Looks like he's made some great trades, had some draft picks. Hockey did fall off a little bit for me here recently. Granted, we're in Hockey Town. And but hey, I'm excited about it. There's nothing better than some playoff hockey. We all know that. We've experienced it. A lot of fun. But I'm excited about our Tigers. I really think we got some young prospects in the minors. I went last week to go see Toledo down there in the Mud Hens, and I was literally sitting like 4 rows behind home plate. And Riley Green led off. I really like his approach. I like what he's doing. But man, I'll tell you what, Torkelson come up, hit second. He smoked a liner that went foul, but it went right over first. But the sound of his bat when he hit the ball, there's just the sound. I mean, it was like a sound you don't normally hear. And I was listening to that. I mean, it was incredible. All broadcasters and people around baseball will tell you Sheffield had one of the loudest sounds and pings of all the hitters. But I mean, this one stood out. Like it stood out. I'm excited for these guys to get up there. And you're right, Detroit sports down are down, but I think we're in a good spot here. I think we're ready to roll. The Pistons even got some good picks. So I don't know. Who do you think is going to get to the top first of the three?
I'm going to say the Tigers. I'm with you, and I'm not saying that just because you're wearing the Tigers road gray jersey, which is so sweet. But I have a feeling that these prospect pitchers, they're not really prospects anymore. They're up in the big leagues, and we all know. I look at professional pitchers kind of like tight ends. They take a season or two to develop, and then when they hit their stride, that's kind of your win now window. And I'm telling you, these pitchers that the Tigers have, they're going to hit their stride right as Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson are called up to the majors, and it's going to be a perfect storm. It's going to fall in place. It's going to be beautiful. And you and I even have talked off air. We share text messages and we talk to each other every once in a while, and we had the same idea. We almost said it at the same time. If the Tigers can add a couple veteran bats, while this is going on, as the young kids that come up from AAA to bat and the pitchers hit their stride, you add a couple, seasoned vets at second base, left field, something along those lines. This team will be a perfect storm, and they're going to compete big time in the Central.
I agree. I'm gonna get on to one of these years, maybe next year or the year after. Maybe I can try to get a bet in on them winning the division or so and be exciting. Baseball is my favorite sport. So, but last night, man, what the hell did we watch there at the Lions game? I got to give you credit right off the bat. Man, we talked about some DFS showdown, which, is FanDuel and DraftKings, where it's single game kind of entry stuff, where, you just basically pick players from the same game, and you got to generally pick a captain, and that's usually 1.5 the points, sometimes double the points, depending on the contest you're in. But Dan, did you nail Aaron Jones in the 4 touchdowns or what? I mean, that was a great call.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I use a Ouija board for my DFS stuff, but I don't have a crystal ball. I don't wear, I don't get that wild. But when it comes to Aaron Jones, I recorded a video, for everybody to see, like a major video for the Monday Night DFS video, and then I pull like 15, 20-second clips of it to share throughout the day to kind of, garner some interest here. And I mentioned that of all the players last night, even more so than Rodgers and Devontae Adams, I want Aaron Jones in my MVP and my captain spot. And I said verbatim, he's going to have over 100 total yardage, and he's going to find the end zone a couple times. I was thinking too, so when he scored 4, I mean, who on earth would predict that? Unless you're Ace Rothstein from the Casino movie, De Niro's character, it's not going to happen. So yeah, that was a great call. And again, it wasn't anything really profound. I mean, not going out on a limb in a single game to choose, the best running back of the game to go off and be well. But I know a lot of folks in single game showdowns, you have to get weird. You have to get wild. Maybe put the DST in the captain spot, but we have to know where our bread is buttered here. To me, it was Aaron Jones last night, and he came through big time. I love the story. His father recently passed away, and his father was always at the game. Aaron Jones knew at Lambeau he could go out, shake his hand in the one end zone, and his father was there rooting him on. Well, he had a chain with like a little capsule of his father's ashes. He wanted to wear that last night. So he scored a couple times, but he also lost the necklace. They don't know what end zone it is. I know the Green Bay staff is combing the field looking for it, but Aaron Jones came out and said, if it's gone and it's missing and it's not found, oh well, my dad's ashes are right where I think he'd want them to be. So it was a great story last night.
No, that is a good story. I like that story. But I just watching that. The Lions started out good. I mean, but we've all seen this song and dance before. I will say the offensive line does look improved for the Lions. I really like this kid we got, Penny Sewell. mean, I didn't realize that dude's 20 years old, and he's throwing around grown men in the NFL. That dude's the baddest 21-year-old I know of. Like, oh man, that dude's a
Yeah,
badass. I mean, he's
it's crazy.
manhandling these guys. I mean, they're like
And
6,
it's
7
only
yards.
And it's only
Go
going
ahead.
to get better, Scott, because even in OTAs and everything in the spring and the summer, some folks said even in the preseason game, he got blew up a couple times. But again, as you said, he's so young. He's in his early 20s, and this kid will grow. And what I love here, he's not in offensive skill position, so it's not sink or swim. If he was a running back or a wide receiver, if he doesn't do well after a season or two, you kind of throw him on the scrap heap. But with an offensive line talent like Sewell, he's able to grow and learn, feet to the fire, and this kid's going to be outstanding for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. So last week, obviously with week 2, we had, some things to note. There was some injuries that, we got to look at. We talked a little bit about those yesterday, but today is a big day for the waiver wire today and tomorrow. A lot of leagues, you got to put in your waiver pickups. So we're going to discuss that here, coming up here. But there's one thing I want to discuss real quick that I noticed. I like to look at the snap counts and percentages of snaps that certain running back plays, and I like to try to pay attention to any guy. So I just wanted to run this down real quick. Like Najee Harris played 95%. That was kind of the same as last week. Alvin Kamara went down to 84%. That's a little concerning. Mixon was at 83. Barkley was at 83. Montgomery at 79. Henry 77. Cook 77. James Robinson went up at 72%. Elliott 72. McCaffrey and Drake. So the reason I like to look at this is obviously these are as many of the percentage of the offensive snaps that they played. So I like to keep track of these guys who are playing at 70% or more, so that when I'm looking at making decisions on certain guys, that I know who's out there and what guys. I mean, you look at these listed players. Obviously, they're the better running backs, but you pick up a couple guys you may not expect that were in there. Kenyon Drake at 70%, Robinson 72. So I don't know what kind of little stats you like to look at, just trying to gauge different things and, just kind of simplistic little things, to use as a gauge. But do you like to look at like snaps played, percentage of snaps and stuff like that?
Yeah, I knew a month ago when we were first in contact that you and I are cut from the same cloth. We're almost identical in the way that we prep. We're almost identical in our DFS methods, and even smaller scale like seasonal stuff. And to me, my biggest calling card over the years when it comes to DFS, aside from winning, but with the content, is like the punt plays, the low owned guys, who's going to pop, because we all know the stars and the studs here. So my number one thing that I look for is, the Vegas odds for that's, one of my foundations, but it's also offensive snap percentages. If these kids or these men are on the field, because if they're not, like if you look at a FanDuel or like a waiver wire pickup and you're going to spend, X amount of fab on a guy like Rondale Moore, he hit a home run on Sunday, 70 something yard touchdown. But if he was only on the field for 15-20% of the snaps, why even bother? Because then you're kind of putting yourself behind the 8 ball. You're looking for one big play a game, and I'm not willing to take that lottery ticket and try and cash that in. So a lot of these punt plays or a lot of these waiver wire additions, if whoever's on the field longer, then that's it. I mean, that's as simple as it gets. You don't have to spend hours on end combing through all these endless, useless stats. How much is he on the field? Offensive snap percentages is, to me, without a doubt, the most important stat to look at from a seasonal and a DFS perspective.
I agree. And that's something I just wanted to bring up. As we said here on the Woodward Bets, we're going to try to educate everybody as we go along. You pay attention. And one other thing I think we're going to do that we brought up, and hopefully we got to get everybody over to our Woodward Bets Twitter page. So what we're going to do, we're going to get you go over there. We need you to get a follow. And hey, if you got any questions, start or sit, or kind of DFS questions on for our Friday show, we're going to answer as many of those questions as we can. If it goes through most of our show, it goes through most of our show. We want to interact with the people. So you know what? Again, just go to our Woodward Bets Twitter page, give us a follow. Make sure you get in there, and you know what? Ask us a question anytime. We'll save them all. We'll be able to see it. But yeah, so on Friday, we're going to try to get to as many of your questions as we can. I know Chris and I like to answer questions like that. So yeah, looking forward to Friday. So. But we'll continue on here. I think let's get into the season-long waiver pickups. So do you got any waiver pickups right off the bat that you can think off the top of your head that everybody should be looking at?
Yeah, I hate to do this to you, but I looking at the show sheet, kind of pull the curtain back here on the show. You mentioned a couple kids that I find very exciting, very enticing. First and foremost, it's Rondale Moore, as I mentioned him moments ago, because he's on the top of my brain. In dynasty leagues and seasonal formats, more than likely, he was drafted. If you're in a 10-team league, small benches, maybe not. Unless you're savvy, if you're out there like living and breathing this, then the drill with Rondale Moore. But to me, I love this kid. And you look at, let me bring up what I have for what he did last week and what I have for his projections this year, or this week, excuse me. So last week, he saw, or total so far this year, 13 targets, 11 receptions, almost 200 yards. He hit that awesome home run touchdown ball last week. He's averaging right now 16 and a half yards a reception. And that's huge because if you look at that Arizona team, we already know, we talked about it Sunday. I've talked about it till I'm blue in the face. Kyler Murray is an up-and-coming superstar. He's on the cusp of it now. If he goes out and just shows up and shows out this coming weekend, I mean, he's going to solidify himself as a certified stud here. And so when you get an offense like that, kind of like Kansas City or Buffalo, you want any and all pieces of that offense you can get your hands on. So to me, Rondale Moore in that offense, why can't he move up the depth chart and be number 2 behind DeAndre Hopkins? No one is going to surpass D-Hop in that offense as the alpha wide receiver, but I could see a case that Rondale Moore bumps off the shell of AJ Green, the corpse of AJ Green, and he surely could boost past Christian Kirk or Andy Isabella, who I think he's not even on the roster. He was cut, if I remember correctly. So to me, Rondale Moore might be my number 1 overall waiver claim aside from Henry Ruggs, but I don't want to just carry the show here and leave you in the dust talking about the waiver wire selection. So, Scott, to me, it's Rondale Moore.
Yeah, I like Rondale Moore. I mean, when you play him in DFS, like we said, we like to stack up stuff. I mean, you could stack up Hopkins. It's either going to be Moore or Kirk, I think, is going to be the secondary. One of the two, but I really like Rondale Moore. That dude he's just a rocket. That guy's really quick. I liked him in college. But
yeah, as a Big Ten guy, watch Purdue a lot, right?
Purdue,
He's a Big Ten guy. So I was able to see Rondale Moore live and in person a few times. So he's fantastic. Finally going to show the world what he can do on the big stage, because Purdue not on a lot of primetime games during the college season.
That's true. So I do like another guy I want to bring up is Sony Michel. So I like Sony Michel this week. I know in probably some deeper leagues he's probably going to be owned, but you probably be able to pick him up. I think he should be available in quite a few leagues. But I mean, Darrell Henderson left last week with an injury. Sony Michel ended up coming in, getting 10 carries. I think he only had like 46 yards. But Henderson's he's been hurt a few times in his career. So I mean, they obviously traded for Michel for a reason. I think it's going to take him a few weeks, which he's had under his belt now, to kind of pick up the scheme and the blocking schemes, which I think is important. But yeah, I really like Sony Michel as a pickup. And then I'm going to bring up Justin Fields. Obviously, we saw with the Bears, Dalton got hurt. They keep saying he's going to come back. But, obviously Fields, it's a good stash anyway. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to come in. So if you need like a streamer for a week to cover for a quarterback, I think Fields might not be a bad play. And look at your bye weeks too. And if you're picking up ahead of time, you don't always have to just pick up for that week. I like to look and see where I have holes and know where my holes are 2 or 3 weeks out on my season-long team, so that maybe I can get ahead and maybe pick up a guy. Because, if you're not going to play a guy, he's going to be on your bench, and you can drop him for something you may need a couple weeks and pick up a really nice stash. I like to do that. You mentioned Henry Ruggs, too. He was impressive. Big-time deep threat. I really like Ruggs. He had, 5 grabs, 113 yards, and a pretty long touchdown. I think it's obvious Gruden's just going to throw the ball. So I really like Henry Ruggs. Do you want to add anything about Henry Ruggs?
Yeah, really quick. Is the breakout finally happening? We know the story last year. He's a first-round selection, did little to no damage at all last year, and that's fine. Again, another young kid being thrust into the spotlight in a professional franchise, and maybe he was shy. Maybe he was, he took a little longer to kind of develop here, and I think the breakout for Henry Ruggs is upon us. As you said, he caught 5 passes on 7 targets for 113 yards and a touchdown. He's also tied for the team league in targets and receptions. So the last 2 weeks, he saw 12 total targets. And look at what's going on this coming week in week 3. The Vegas Raiders take on the Miami Dolphins, and they're 7th overall in allowing opposing wide receivers, receptions and targets here. So give me all the Henry Ruggs, not only for this week, but for the duration of the season. Again, I think the breakout for Henry Ruggs is finally upon us, Scott.
Yeah, I agree. And two, Derek Carr may be available in some leagues. If he is sitting around, I think Derek Carr is the guy you kind of got to stash. Dude had 435 yards passing and 382. I mean, that's like tops in the NFL. So obviously we saw Waller get a lot of that. Ruggs got part of that. So I really like Ruggs. Obviously last night we saw Quentin Cephas for the Lions too catch some passes. I think if he's not used up in some of your leagues, he might end up becoming the Detroit's wide receiver 1. So he's another guy that I don't mind. Cordell Patterson's another guy that it looks like old journeyman's getting a lot of plays over there in Atlanta, which is interesting. We've seen him as kick returners, the wide receivers, running back. He's kind of like a do-it-all kind of guy. But, Mike Davis hasn't impressed me any. And it seems like they're going to Cordell. So do you got anything to add about Cordell or Quentin or anybody along the lines?
Well, Cordell Patterson, he's been given running back eligibility now after last week. So I know you're a big seasonal and DFS baseball guy. And when it comes to baseball, that multi-positional eligibility is massive. And you can kind of move these parts and pieces around. So in a fantasy football league, add a guy off waivers who can fill in at running back and wide receiver for your team. It's almost priceless here. I'm not saying blow, 50, 75% of your fab on Patterson, but he's a nice kind of Swiss Army knife to have just in case in a pinch one of your regular starters is something awful happens where he hurts his calf or something awful, like as I said, happens late in the week and you need a guy to fill in. Well, you got Patterson to kind of fill 2 voids, running back, wide receiver here. So I'm all in on Cordell Patterson this week together. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Sam Darnold. Again, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but if anybody's read my content or any little discussions we've had, I've been in on Sam Darnold since the day he was drafted by the Jets. And when he left Adam Gase and all that nonsense, I fully expected Darnold to finally do his thing in Carolina. And look at it now. Carolina's 2-0. Sam Darnold looks good. He looks tight in the pocket, and he's making the right decisions. He's stepping up when he needs to be. He's avoiding the rush, and he's not just signaling, just going off his first read. He's looking around. He's checking down when he needs to. So to me, if you're, in a super flex league, Darnold's way gone. But in a 1-quarterback league here, I would look at Sam Darnold, or as you said, Derek Carr as my backup. And if you want to carry 3 quarterbacks on just a 1 quarterback league, have at it. Those are the 2 guys I would want.
Yeah, I like Sam Darnold this week as a streamer. Obviously he's got a really good matchup. But yeah, I agree with you there with Darnold. But one thing I want to talk about, as we always said here in this Woodward Bets, we want to try to make sure everybody kind of understands and educate everybody a little bit about different strategies and stuff. And one thing with DFS that I think people aren't really aware, they say, oh, there's all these sharks and blah, blah, blah. Well, people like myself who've been playing a long time and done well on the platform, we get limited. We're not allowed to play anything less than $3 on FanDuel. So like on FanDuel, I'm not allowed to get in any of them kind of contests. So, those waters are a little bit more fruitful for the novice type players. So play those $2 games, play those tournaments you can get in like the 3-mans, stuff like that. So just know, what kind of works for you, like what you want to do, like playing GPPs is more, you're going for that 1 or 2 times a season where you're really going to hit it and maybe get 100 times your money. But cash games is more of a grind, that kind of stuff. But just know that, the really good players, the sharks, so to speak, are definitely limited on FanDuel. So I just want that to be known. Make sure you get in there, give DFS a try. I think it's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. It's been really good to me. Like I said, I've been all around the country, Playboy Mansion, been to LA, Chicago, met a lot of great people along the way. Guys like Chris, Detroit Beastie. Chris Prince, who's my partner here on the show. And he'll be back Sunday for when I'm being told. So we're going to have the Beer Man. The Beer Man's like a legend in the DFS community. We're excited to have him. Yes, yes. I mean, we're excited. I mean, I've been trying to carry here. I mean, this is my first time kind of doing all this stuff here, but hey, I'm glad it worked out the way it has, and we're gonna carry along until he gets back. But yeah, just so you guys know, like the DFS, I wanted to be sure, but let's look a little bit here in early week 3. I want to just kind of run it down. There were some things I noticed that when I break into a week on like a Tuesday, what I like to do immediately is look at opening lines. So there's things I like to look at where games I think line might change. Example, the Lions game this week with Denver, or I'm sorry, Baltimore. It's opening up at like 8.5 right now, 9 in them circles. If you can find it at 8.5, that is a great tease. Anytime you can 6-point tease, 2-team tease, and you can go through the 7 number and get through that 6 number, or a 3 number, you're using all 6 points in that tease. Those are the tees you got to look at the beginning. So don't be afraid to bet a couple teases earlier in the week. So, you want to grab Baltimore minus 2.5. I really would recommend that. That's kind of things I like to look at early in the type week. But is there anything you like to kind of look at beginning of the week? Any things you like to try to focus on?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. My foundation of DFS research and betting research has always started with Vegas and the point spreads. And I love to look at the over-unders. I mean, point spreads are great. DFS is good, but I really thrive on the over-unders. I mean, I'd like to think, a lot of folks say, well, that's easy. I need to challenge myself. I need to do, point spread teasers and single player prop parlays, things like that. To me, my bread is buttered with the over-under. So I always look at those lines and see if you can lock some of those in early. If I can get a parlay in early in the week of lines, as you said, that I have a gut feeling that are going to sway as the week goes on, you can kind of catch the book, or you can kind of catch these websites, and you can get an over on them, a little bit of advantage because they're going to move. But when you place a bet, like if you were to place, I do a lot of stuff like Sunday night, Monday morning in terms of point spreads. If you can lock that stuff kind of in, like I'm fully expecting the Baltimore line to just go through the roof. To be honest with you, I'd feel comfortable taking Baltimore minus 20, or plus 20, plus 21. I think it's going to be, it's going to be bad for the Lions when they play Baltimore. So lock this stuff in as early as you can. Put a couple bucks on it. And as the week goes by, if more things start to grab your attention, you can build off your original process, and you can build off your original kind of build, parlays, Monday or Tuesday here. So yeah, I'm with you. I love the over-under spreads.
Yeah, it's like for me, like I said, I like to do the 2-team teasers, but I like to try to catch those where I'm using my full 6 points. So like if you tease a game that's at 7, you're really only using like 4.5 points, because you got to use your 6 points to go through those important numbers, that the scorings, the 3s, the 7s, the 10s, the 14s. So yeah, I like to look for them 8.5 spreads, even them 7.5 spreads where you can get down to 1.5, stuff like that. So, that's the type of stuff I look for. But yeah, I mean, let's take a really quick peek here at some of these games this week. On Thursday night, we got Houston. It looks like we're getting into these shitty teams here on Thursday night. Carolina and Houston on Thursday. It looks like we got plus 7.5, over 44 in that game. Looks like we'll have a little bit of showdown. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that on Thursday. But yeah, I mean, what do you think? CMC, obviously, he's a guy every week we got to play, right?
Yeah, my first reaction from a betting standpoint is to take Carolina minus 7.5, right? That's what I want there. The over-under right now is at 44. I don't know how I feel about that because, well, as it stands right now, I have the final score at exactly 44 points. I have Carolina winning 30-14 in this one. So again, right off the bat, I love Carolina minus the points in this one. And right now, see, this is one of those things. Don't feel comfortable locking in my bet in terms of the over-under here. So I'll put that off a couple days as things become, readily available to me here. And in terms from a DFS standpoint, obviously in a showdown mode, and I won't bury the lead here, and I won't get into it too much because, Thursday's coming up. We got videos and things along those lines, but more than likely I might get wild and put Sam Darnold in the captain spot, which, to be fair, when I say it out loud, it's not that wild. I know a lot of other folks that are going to be there, but as more information is made readily available, as practice reports start to pop out, that's when we can dig a little deeper, Scott.
Yeah, I agree. Thursday is always a fun night. I get to get out. That's my night out with the boys, so I watch some football. It's always exciting. But Sunday looks like we got 2, 4, 6, 8, about 10 or 11 games at 1 o'clock. We got 4 games at 4 o'clock. The first game we got is Washington Buffalo. We were looking at Buffalo just absolutely smashed last week. So that was one of my best bets. 3.5 came through for everybody on our first day. Washington's been hasn't really looked all that great. I think Buffalo here is in a really good spot. I mean, damn, I don't know how you not bet on the Bills. That 8.5 is like an opening line. This is a game I want to tease down to the 2.5 too, along with maybe those Ravens. I think that's a good bet. You dip those two down, you get to go through the numbers. I really like that off this beginning part of this week. But yeah, as far as DFS and fantasy, obviously with Allen and Diggs, they're always in play. But what do you think? Gibson, anybody along them lines look good?
Yeah, I mean, in this one, the graphics up on the screen, I'm 100% taking Buffalo minus 8.5. I fully expect this line to even go up into the 9s, maybe even, Buffalo minus 10 in this one. And either way, I'm still cool there. From a DFS perspective, nothing crazy. I think a good move in here would be J.D. McKissick. He's $5,300 on FanDuel. And then on DraftKings, I believe, let me bring it up really quick. And on DraftKings, J.D. McKissick is $5,200. So to me, I always look for under the radar moves. So to me, it would be J.D. McKissick in this one. We know the ownership percentage for Terry McLaurin is going to be probably upwards of what, Scott? You tell me, 12 to 15% by the time it locks on Sunday afternoon. And one more thing, I do think I will sprinkle a little bit of Devin Singletary in my lineups. We saw he scored a touchdown, but Zach Moss got some late work, later in this game here. So I think a large portion of folks are going to be on Zach Moss for DFS purposes, but I'm staying with Devin Singletary for DFS formats.
Yeah, Moss did come into play. Looking at the next game, we got Cleveland and Chicago. Chicago going into Cleveland, man, with Dalton, A-Rob. I mean, that was one of my other best bets, plus 135 to score a touchdown. Thankfully, he did that really quick for us. But after that, when Dalton got hurt, he really didn't look too good. Obviously, I think Fields is the kind of guy that's going to run around. He's not really reading through his progressions at this point. But yeah, this game here is kind of like, that's a tough game for me to gauge at this point. I think Chicago could hold down Cleveland. I think Cleveland's a little better team, but I think this one's a good smash mouth type football game. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I'm rolling with Cleveland minus the points here. To be fair, I think Cleveland wins by 2 touchdowns. So you're looking at 13, 14 points, worst case scenario here. And in terms of a DFS standpoint, I wrote an article. It's not published yet. It'll be published later this afternoon. But it's like I'm fading all Chicago Bears until further notice because Matt Nagy is just driving me crazy. And I'm not even a Chicago Bears fan. It's just the hemming and hawing with Andy Dalton and the rookie Justin Fields. You have to make a decision because as we've seen, look at what Miami did last season with Fitz and Tua. You're completely killing this kid's confidence in Justin Fields here. And Andy Dalton's in and out. They're swapping plays back and forth. I'm telling you, the confidence of a young rookie quarterback is more important than I think people give them credit for. This kid needs to have reps. He needs to have the confidence that his head coach and the team is behind him, and he's just not getting it there. Yeah, Allen Robinson scored a touchdown 2 minutes into the game, still driving home from the studio when you texted me that happened. But still, A-Rob is your stud. You got to feed this guy. And Matt Nagy is completely suppressing all the talent on this team. So I'm fading this game completely. But for the sake of the people watching and playing DFS, I would go with David Montgomery, and that's about it in this one. Yeah,
Cole Kmet's been getting a little bit more love too recently. The next game we have, too, is Detroit and Baltimore. I know we kind of mentioned a little bit about that. Detroit at home against Baltimore. Like I said, that line is anywhere between 7.5 to 9, kind of looking around at all the different sports books. And that's another thing, too. If you do sports bet, I do suggest you have multiple sports books. Shop around. Make sure you get the best line, especially beginning part of the week. It seems like the lines are a little bit more off in certain places. You might even be able to get a point and a half difference. So I saw that today, 7.5 on the FanDuel book, and it was 9 at MGM. So, but yeah, this game's going to be tough for the Lions. We obviously know. I mean, Lamar Jackson's a video game. That's poor Lion, and he's going to be on turf. Good luck. I heard something too yesterday that Baltimore, that offensive coordinator in Baltimore, literally, it doesn't matter who he plugs in there at running back. They're just all well. That system is just too good. So good luck to the Lions. Going to have to go in here and play Baltimore. It looks like we're staring at 0-3.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to take Baltimore, giving points. As I said, 10, 15 minutes ago, I'd be comfortable taking Baltimore, minus 20, and I'm not kidding. Again, I have Baltimore putting up like 40 plus points in this one. From a DFS perspective, I won't spend a ton of time here. Lamar is going to be, I wouldn't be shocked. This is crazy. I wouldn't be shocked to see him 75 to 85% owned, which is normal. No money to be made, with Lamar as your DFS quarterback, the chalkiest of the chalk here. But why not throw a couple darts? TJ Hawkinson is a stud at tight end in DFS circles. And then even Quintez Cephas, we saw last night against Green Bay, they weren't afraid to attack down the field with Cephas, with TJ Hawkinson here. So in a game where the Lions are going to be down big very early, they're going to be spreading the ball around a lot here. So give me TJ and give me Quintez Cephas.
Yeah, I agree. I think too, like last night, I was a little disappointed they didn't give the ball to Jamal Williams in that garbage time. It's kind of a knock against Campbell there. I don't know how in the hell you leave your star back out there when you're losing like that. That should have been Jamal Williams' time. I should have got over my 18 to 20 yard receiving. That was kind of painful. But the next game we got Arizona and Jacksonville. I mean, Jacksonville's terrible. Arizona, we already talked about Kyle Murray, how good he is with Hopkins, Kirk. So I don't know if we really need to get too much into that one. Obviously, we know Arizona's good, putting up points. We talked about Rondale Moore. So yeah, I like Jacksonville to just keep falling on their face with Urban Meyer. I'm not a fan. I think they're going to get smoked. So just to kind of save some time, we're going to have to kind of skip by a couple of these, but. So I'm just going to go to the next game, which is really good, and I think is the Chargers and Chiefs. I think that's a primetime game this week. That one there is going to be probably one of the most watched games. Man, I'll tell you what, I don't even know which way I want to go here. This one here is going to be one I'm going to have to look in, but we obviously got a lot of pieces for fantasy on both sides of the ball, so this one's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm going I'm going to take the Chargers and the 7. Oh, it says 6.5, but I'm going to take the Chargers plus 7 in this one. I think Kansas City wins, but they don't cover. Over under in this one is 55.5 points. I think every bit of that hits. I could see 60 plus points being scored. So give me the Chargers plus the 7.
Yeah, I agree. I think this one could definitely have a lot of points. Probably is going to get a lot of DFS interest on Sunday for sure. But I'm sure we'll get talking into that game as the week goes on. And again, everybody, we already mentioned earlier on Fridays, we're going to try to get a start and sit question, your DFS questions. So make sure you get over there, follow our Woodward Sports Twitter page, give us a follow, ask your questions on there. We'll get to as many as we can on Friday, and we'll try to answer as many as we can, like I said. So the next game we have on here is New Orleans and New England. I think this is going to be another good game. Belichick obviously is one of the best coaches. We got New Orleans who, they've been dealing with all that hurricane stuff. They get to get on the road here. So yeah, this one's going to be interesting. What do you think of this game here?
Oh, my initial reaction was to take the under in this one. It's sitting at 43 total points right now. And so, as I said, my first initial gut reaction is to take the under in this one. From a DFS perspective, really quick, nothing is jumping off the page to me. I know that New Orleans, their wide receivers, not really, probably a good play. New England's 8th overall against opposing wide receivers. And then on the other side of the ball, the wide receivers for New England, the Saints are 16th overall against opposing wide receivers. So I would shoot a dart at Jacoby Myers in DFS formats, and even James White again. We saw last week James White got rolling very early on. I made graphics about wanting to play James White, and I hit on that one, so won't spend too much time there touting myself. But once these players, especially like Jay White, gets moving, it's hard. You'd be hard pressed to see him get removed from that kind of workload. So give me James White and give me Jacoby Myers and the under, Scott.
Yeah, I like the under in this one here. I was surprised Kamara didn't get as much run last week. Man, he was limited on his touches, which was kind of scary, which we'll get into more as the week goes on. But, yeah, I agree with you on that under there. The next game we got real quick here is the Atlanta Falcons at the Giants. man, Ryan looked pretty good last week, obviously in that game that they had, but the Giants haven't been really doing all that well. Barkley's been banged up; he's not been doing too well. So this one here, I'm just going to have to. I'm not really interested too much of a DFS standpoint, but I might look at Atlanta here on the road, getting 2.5. I think I kind of like that.
You know what's great about what we're doing here, and working, kind of side by side with you here. I'm all over the Giants in this one from a DFS perspective, and I'm not kidding. I love the idea of stacking Daniel Jones with Saquon Barkley with Devontae Booker too, the dreaded double running back stack from the same team, and you throw in Kenny Golladay, and that's a four-headed monster from the same team in this one. So if you look across the board, Atlanta is 19th overall against opposing running backs. They're 23rd against opposing wide receivers, and they are dead last in defending the quarterback here. So Daniel Jones, we always say, if you look across the board at any DFS content, and you and I talked about it live in person, those running backs, or excuse me, those quarterbacks that have that second gear with their legs and can accumulate rushing yardage and touchdowns on the ground, though you hold those quarterbacks to high regard. And is it time we have to look at Daniel Jones being that dual threat quarterback? Sounds funny. I can't even say it with a straight face, but give me all the New York Giants this week against a porous Atlanta Falcons defense.
Yeah, they are a bad defense, and you might be onto something. That's how when you game stack and do stuff like that in DFS, that's obviously a way we get to the top. I do like to game stack and play multiple players from the same team. It's, it just correlates better. But the next game, we'll move on. The next game we have is Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, interdivision game. Should be a mouth smasher. I expect the running backs here, Najee Harris and Mixon, to be heavily involved. I like watching games like that. I mean, Pittsburgh, I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough game. I don't generally like to bet on division games like this, but yeah, I think for DFS purposes, Najee Harris and Mixon are going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. A first gut reaction, that's been my MO here this afternoon, is taking Cincinnati and the point. Cincinnati plus 4.5. The under in this one too. That is at about 44.5 in this one. I think this one's going to be hard pressed to even get to 35 total points. You said it best. These two teams, they dislike each other. They're going to hit each other in the face and the mouth. It's going to be like a WWF knockdown drag out kind of matchup here. So give me the under, but also give me Cincinnati and the points.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this is a game you can dip up. You can get it at like 10.5. That's another number I just like to move. I like to just see the numbers and the numbers there, and there's certain moves I like to make. Getting a 10.5 spread on a tease is good. I mean, it doesn't matter really what side. I mean, if you like that side and you like the 4, I'd suggest dipping it up to 10. It's just a huge line move. The last game we got at 1 o'clock is Indy. And then Mr. Henry and the Titans. Good call last week by you. I know you were really on Derrick Henry. He smashed. He was the guy you had to have last week in all the DFS tournaments if you want to be up at the top. Tennessee minus 5.5 here. I'm kind of leaning toward the Colts, to be honest. I think, it's one of them bounce back NFLs, bounce up and down. I think the Colts here, even though Wentz is hurt and he's got, two bum ankles, I think. But for some reason, I think maybe Indy gets it done here, and I'm kind of looking at the point. So I'm actually kind of dipping this one up to the 11.5 on a couple of my early dips. But what you got any thoughts on this one here and Mr. Henry?
Yeah, fair enough. And once again, I'm on the exact opposite side of this thing. I love Tennessee minus the 5.5 points here. Over under is 48. I think that it's going to fall just shy. We're going to finish with like about 45 to 47 total points in this one. From a DFS perspective, what more can you say? Derrick Henry's in play. Again, I think I'm going to go back to the well with Nyheim Hines. And again, you talk about bounce back games. A.J. Brown was very, self-conscious and very tough on himself after last week. He dropped a couple passes. He even tweeted out that, like, if I couldn't even catch a cold right now. That's how awful I was this past week. So A.J. Brown bounces back in a big game. So get me all the A.J. Brown I can handle. I'd even consider the single game slate and putting A.J. Brown in my MVP captain spot this week. That's how high I am on A.J. Brown this week.
And two, you talk about AJ Brown. Don't be afraid to get in there and get some player prop bets early too in the week. That's another thing that, get the lines go up as more gets bet on them. Get on them early. You like an AJ Brown this week. You think he's in a good spot. Get on there. See how many catches he needs. What kind of yardage he has. Look and see what that line spread is. I personally don't like to bet on anything higher than minus like 120, 125. So when we start getting minus 140, 150. I generally don't like to go there. I don't think it's plus even over the long haul. But yeah, get in there early. Get in there, check out those player props. But we got 4 games at 4 o'clock. We're getting a little bit shorter here on time, so I want to be sure we get to everything we want to get to. But we got New Jersey. We got the Jets in Denver. That's going to be kind of one of them laugher games. I don't think it's going to. I'll probably get the D team for the announcers. On with the networks. I'm not really interested in this game too much as far as DFS or any kind of betting. I mean, it just looks like one of these downer games. You got 11 points. I don't know. I don't really see much. Do you?
No, not at all. I mean, a minus 11 for Denver it's kind of startling given the direction of both of these teams. Unless I'm crazy, these two teams are very evenly matched on Sunday. So to have a double-digit point spread one way or the other is shocking to me. So I'm going to take, the New York Jets, plus 11 here. That's crazy.
Yes, it does seem crazy. That does seem a lot of high number. I mean, anytime over 10, anytime double-digit point spread in NFL is something you should look at. But the next game, we got the Dolphins going to the Raiders. The Raiders been looking good. You had a good call on them last week. I know you were one of your favorite bets. They're 3.5 on the road against Miami, who got blistered by Buffalo, got shut out, got embarrassed. So, I mean, are they going to step it back up, or does this line seem like it's a little too low?
The line is extremely low given, again, the direction of both these teams. Miami got blanked. Tua was carted off. It looked like a rib injury. Everybody thought it was the hip, which we know he's had, injury history with in college here. But regardless if Tua plays or not, I'm still on Vegas to go 3-0. I said it last week, and I'm going to double down each week that something special seems to be going on with Vegas and Derek Carr and the way that they're confident working in, Henry Ruggs and trying not formats, but trying new offensive packages on the field. So I'm all in on Vegas minus 3.5.
Yeah, we already seen the Vegas Magic with the hockey team coming in their first season, going all the way and getting to the cup. Hey, do we got the Vegas Raiders in that? Could we have some Vegas Magic? We already know it's a magical town. So, let's see what happens as that plays out. That'll be interesting. The next game, I think, is the one I think most everybody's going to want to watch. I think it should have been the Monday night game. We got Mr. Tom Brady going against Aaron Donald and Matt Stafford. Wow, this is going to be a great game. I think this one here, I'm not going to bet on it. I can't bet. I mean, my brain's telling me to bet on the Rams. I just can't bet against Tom Brady. It's not something I like to do. So, but man, this is going to be a great game to watch. The 4 o'clock special here.
Yeah, to be honest with you, Scott, I've cleared my schedule Sunday afternoon to watch this game. I'm going to have no skin in this one. I want to sit back, relax, and watch it because everybody talks about Brady being the greatest ever, rightfully so. And everybody always talks about these quarterback matchups. Remember all the Peyton Mannings versus the Tom Bradys, Aaron Rodgers versus Drew Brees. Why can't we have a new era here, which is crazy to say new, but Tom Brady versus Matthew Stafford? I think this game is going to be fun. It's going to be special. The over-under here is at 54.5, and that's about as comfortable as I feel in this one, taking the over.
I'll tell you, as I said a couple times already on Woodward Bets, I already have the bets in on Matt Stafford to win the Super Bowl. This is probably going to be, one of the conference championship games here in the NFC. But I'm going to tell you, I'm betting on Matt Stafford. I already know how this movie ends. Being a Lions fan, Stafford's going to hold the trophy. We already know that. So I already got my bets in. But this one here, even if the Rams lose and them odds go up, I'm going to be jumping on it again and doubling down. So usually when one of my teams that I have loses, I like to double check, make sure them odds didn't go up, and I'll throw a few more bucks on it to just to get them better odds. But moving on, we got that Seattle and Minnesota game to end out them 4 o'clock games. Man, Minnesota has lost by 2 field goals here. which, pains me as a Lions fan to see. But Seattle looked real good. So, I mean, this game's interesting. But for some reason, I think Minnesota here is the better play. They got their back against the wall, lost 2 close games. I can't see them going 0-3. So I think they win this game. Seattle had an emotional game last week. So I think this is a prime spot here for them to get a victory. What do you think?
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. So why even spend a moment longer in this one? Minnesota, any NFL team with their back against the wall, as talented as the Minnesota Vikings are on the offensive side of things, is dangerous to me. So, yeah, I have Minnesota winning 34-31 to like 24.
Nice. I like it. We got Sunday night. We got Green Bay. So Aaron Rodgers gets to go Monday night to Sunday night. They weren't so nice to us on the schedule. We got to have a stinking 1 o'clock game after the Monday night. But, they were nice to Aaron Rodgers and his silly haircut that he's got. I mean, I just can't take him serious with that. I mean, he's kind of looking like he just looks like a tool to me with his hair long like that. So, you know what? I like some Chris Kocurek, the defensive line coach over there at San Francisco. I know him personally. So I'm going to stick with the 49ers here. I'm a 49ers fan just because of Chris. So I'm gonna bet up here on San Francisco. I think Green Bay is going to have a problem with that defensive front.
Absolutely. They struggled a little bit against the Detroit Lions, defensive front for the first quarter or two. We saw what happened in the second half here. And, San Francisco is way more talented on both sides of the ball than the Lions. And to your point, Aaron Rodgers looking like a tool with his long hair. This guy looks like, as long as he wears that Packer green and gold, he's going to be a tool to me. So it doesn't take much.
That's true. I think a lot of us feel that way at Woodward Sports Network. So, I know I saw a few other tweets yesterday, and they weren't so pleasant and nice toward the Packers. But hey, I understand. I get tired of losing them guys. But Monday night we got the NFC East showdown: Philly and Dallas. It's kind of hard for me. Hard to gauge that whole division at this point. Dallas looked decent, a little bit better coming back last week. But yeah, I'm not really quite sure yet on this one. I'm going to have to dive into this one a little more. Good thing is it's on Monday, so I get an extra day. But I don't know if I really feel anyway strong yet this way. Another division game that I always feel are kind of tough to handicap.
Yeah, I'm with you. The only thing I feel comfortable here, it's not the point spread, it's not the over-under. It might be Kenny Gainwell in the single game, on FanDuel or the showdown mode, on DraftKings here. Something is telling me, screaming to me inside that Kenny Gainwell is going to have some sort of special game. And like you, we got an extra day to prep and prepare. So that was my initial reaction. I'll see how it pans out throughout the week with Kenny G.
Sounds good. So before we get out of here, again, I want to mention, get over to the Woodward Bets Twitter page, get over there, follow us, get us a call, follow. If you guys want, just ask some questions, put a question in there for a Friday show, and then we'll try to address that. But yeah, we want to have some interaction with the community, everybody watching. We do appreciate you watching. So before we get out of here, though, Chris, I want you to just give me 1 or 2 guys you want to look at in your season-long pickups that you think are important to get. And if you got any kind of maybe bet or play today, maybe throw that out. Now, hey, I'm not one to say I bet every day on everything, but, I try to be calculated. Season's a long way to go. We don't always have to throw plays out there. But if you got any leans or anything for the people, let them know, because we definitely like giving out winners. But who do you got in your season-long pickups?
Season-long pickups, as I said earlier, Rondale Moore, Henry Ruggs. I think we should double-check Devontae Booker, if not just for this week alone. I can't stress enough how strongly I feel about the New York Giants this coming week on Sunday. So I'm betting the New York Giants. I'm going to stack 3 or 4 of those players. As I said, I'm going to go all in on player props for Daniel Jones, both rushing yardage, both passing yardage here. And that's about it. It's what's shocking to me of this whole slate so far is Saquon Barkley on FanDuel is only $6,000. On DraftKings, he's $6,500, and on the Yahoo DFS app, he's only $24. This is, to be honest with you, it's kind of disrespectful to Saquon, but if the shoe fits, look at what he's done or not done so far this season. So a lot of prop bets on Daniel Jones, as I said, and even Saquon Barkley. He is an absolute must play for me across the board on week 3.
Sounds good. So the season-long pickups I got, I mean, obviously we mentioned Rondell Moore like that. Sam Darnold is a quarterback streamer this week. If you had any kind of injuries at quarterback, I like him as a play this week. And then let's throw out there before we get out of here. You know, I'm a big baseball fan. Tuesday is a great day for baseball. We'll get into some more playoff baseball as we're winding down here on the show. That's something we'll get into too. Every day we're going to try to have a format so everybody kind of knows, you know, what we're going to talk about every day as we move along here. But baseball is getting into the fun time of the year. We got a couple weeks left. But I just kind of looked at it a little bit earlier, and I already made me a bet tonight on the Rockies and Dodgers. I actually bet on the team total over for the Dodgers, which was 6. I think they're going to score about 9 or 10 runs tonight in Colorado. CINCINNATI has been struggling. I really like the Dodgers to score a bunch of runs tonight in Colorado. We get the full 9 at-bats with them being a visitor. So I'm jumped on that. So, hey, just a little suggestion. You guys want to get a bet out there? Chris, you got anything that you saw or anything excited you a little bit?
Yeah, I'm with the over in that one. It will come in without a doubt. I like the game total, the team point implied total in Toronto at Tampa Bay is only 8.5. I think that's a big time smash. And why not parlay it with Scott's, Dodgers and Colorado, the over. So you can go over in 2 games, and we'll see what we get. The most exciting game for me personally will be tonight in Oakland. The Seattle Mariners go to the Oakland Athletics. There's something about these 2 teams I love. Mitch Haniger, Mark Canha. I just root for these guys. So that's the game I'm going to be watching, but I'll have no skin in it because I just want to sit back, rest, and enjoy it.
Sounds good. Well, appreciate everybody watching, looking again. Get over to our Woodward Bets page. Follow our Twitter. Get over there, any kind of these videos. Hit the subscribe, hit the like button. Do whatever you got to do. Help us out as much as you can. I'm Scott G. Rising for Chris. This is the Woodward Bet Show. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.